Hello, Derek. We've just discussed in a panel on restructuring about where the opportunities are coming from and jurisdictional issues. I would like to ask you first, where do you think the opportunities are coming from in terms of supply in the restructuring and distressed market?
Yeah, thank you, Mario. I have nothing imaginative or revelationary to say. I suspect the next year or two is going to be very similar to what we've seen over the last couple of years. Extend and pretend will be alive and well. There will be a lot of that sort of thing. Restructuring of restructurings will start to happen because deals that were done 2 or 3 years ago are now running into difficulty because the anticipated uptick in the economies, which will enable people to increase their sales and hopefully profits, is just not going to happen. Many of them were done on a fairly fine margin and assuming that there would be economic recovery, and it just hasn't occurred. So that will generate more business. As regards a flow of sales, I think that's quite difficult because there's a fundamental difference in the way in which banks and funds are funded. If you take RBS, which is now a very conservatively funded bank, we have gearing of 17 times and a declared return on equity of 12%. The average fund might have a declared return of 20%, and if they had gearing of 4 times, they'd be very pleased. So you just have a fundamental mismatch in where the value is struck between those two parties. So I don't think we will see a big uptick in the companies and debt for sale. Looking at sectors, anything which is close to the consumer is struggling, and we see a steady supply of consumer businesses coming to us. Because economies are depressed, shipping is another depressed area that we see a lot of opportunities in. And anything which is close to government spending, because of course government's cutting back on spending, and that again produces a number of challenges for people who supply that market. So in short, I'm afraid more of the same for the foreseeable future.
Still a lot of work for you.
Indeed.
In terms of dynamics, have you seen much changing between, in major restructurings in Europe, the dynamics between senior and junior creditors?
I think people are getting more sophisticated. The same fundamentals apply that always applied, in that first of all you have to establish where is the value break. That gives you a seat at the table. Frankly, if you're outside it, it's going to be jolly hard to muscle your way into the party, unless you're prepared to put more money in. And that's the second bit of it, the person who's prepared to put the money in. And I think over this cycle, you're probably right, that the senior lenders and the ones in maybe the second tier, whatever it's going to be called in any situation, are getting a bit more sophisticated, that working out if they put a little bit of money in, they can actually keep all the value for themselves. Whereas historically, they have perhaps been a little prone to say, we don't do new money, and people in the mezzanine or the 40-second lien or whatever it is say, we'll put up the money, and the senior lender gets wiped out. So yes, I think people are more sophisticated and taking more notice of where the real value is.